Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. I am so excited to be here with my co host, Candace Grant, a posture alignment specialist with 27 years of experience in massage and movement therapy. Before we jump in, I'd love to introduce myself. My name is Natalie Beauchamp. I am a holistic and functional nutrition practitioner, and I offer a program called Metabolic Balance. Today, we are diving into the fascinating connection between posture and your nervous system, how alignment influences every part of your health. Candace, can you start by explaining why posture is such a foundational part of our overall well being?
Good day, Natalie. Thanks for having me. As you said, I've been a massage therapist for 27 years. And the thing that I've learned is that posture is so important to, not just how we sit or stand, but all of our systems, right? Since I've learned it, I myself have decided that that's the key missing link to, not only my chronic pain, but that of my clients to be able to help them with their mobility and their overall posture confidence. So posture is absolutely the foundation of, our well-being, right? It influences how your body moves, how it handles stress, how it heals, how it impacts breathing, circulation, your immune system, digestive system, and overall your nervous system, right? Because your nervous system is your body's control center. So what happens is when your posture is misaligned, it creates a tension as well as a compression that that will disrupt your nerve signals, often leading to chronic pain, inflammation, as well as low energy levels.
Wow. So I understand that there are 8 laws of physical health. So before we dive into today's tips, could you explain what these 8 laws of physical health are and how they relate to posture?
Sure. So the 8 laws of health, physical health, come into what I've learned through the Egoscue method, which is the posture therapy course that I took. And so they decide how the human body is meant to move, right? So how they support your strength, your mobility, your pain-free movement. And when they're ignored, it actually leads to dysfunction, compensation, and eventually pain, right? It has to go through those cycles. So the more laws that you actually break, the quicker that your body starts to break down. So when we start talking about the laws of health, we look at vertical loading. So vertical loading is how your body bears weight. So you have 8 load joints, your ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders that should all be in vertical alignment, right? Up and down. And then that way, when you're aligned properly, your joints are able to stack properly and carry the weight rather than, shifting to one side or the other. Dynamic tension is all about a neutral balance of what happens to the front of the body and the back of the body, right? So, how gravity plays a part, either pulling you forward, pulling you back. The back muscles are responsible for extension, the forward muscles are responsible for bringing you forward. So, if you're out of that dynamic attention, then you're going to have, maybe some slouch shoulders, forward posture, kyphosis, all those things. And obviously, that's going to lead to more pain and dysfunction. When we talk about form and function, so muscles are in control, right? Muscles are bosses. So bones do what muscles tell them. So if you've got, your forearm and you're bringing your muscle closer, it's the muscle, the biceps, that doing the work to bring those bones closer. Without it, you're just a skeleton and it can't move. So when we talk about in posture therapy, it's all about retraining the muscles to do the actual work rather than, relying on the joint compensations. So breathing is obviously the key to life, right? If you don't have proper breath, especially with the nervous system, it starts to break down and affecting the rest of the system. So slouch posture will restrict that diaphragm motion from ascending and descending, which then of course pulls out the pelvic muscles. So it's all interrelated. Now, when we talk about the law of motion, movement obviously is medicine, right? So, and all your systems are linked closely to movement, how you move, right? So your digestive system, your immune system, your circulatory system, your lymphatic, they all rely on motion, right? So the more that you sit, the less motion, the less they function. When we talk about the law of balance, true balance isn't just about, keeping yourself from falling over. It's about that muscular symmetry, what's happening, right to left of your body, as well as, the balance front to back, once again, like dynamic tension. They're closely related to what's happening. When you have one side that's dominating, your posture will shift and you'll go into what we call lateralization, where your body has a hard time kind of shifting from right to left. Instead, that's when people feel my right side's a mess, or, my left side's a mess. That's that balance that they're not feeling. So when we look at the seventh law of stimulus, stimulus is how our bodies respond to the environment. So when you're not moving enough, right? When there's pollutants around you, there's toxicity, whether it's internal or external around you, your body goes into more of a reactive and a less adaptive. So stress, pollutants, toxins, as I said, impact how you move and how you feel. Now, the more that you're feeling this, the more stimulus. And so if we look at COVID, people weren't allowed to go outside. They weren't allowed to be a part of situations. They felt more isolated, and therefore that actually made them sick. They're saying now, oh, well, I guess we should have not closed the gyms and let people move and go outside. Apparently it's good for your body, right? So it's that stimulus. And when your body's not in that quite stimulus, it does reflect you, because you kind of isolate and you go into that stress, depression, everything like that. When we look at renewal, your body's designed to heal itself and regenerate. So muscles, nerves, cartilage, everything is living and adaptable. But if you start to violate everything else that's going on, your body can't regenerate itself. So once again, it's that compensation that starts to break down, eventually turning it into dysfunction. So once again, the more of these laws that we are violating, the quicker your body goes into tension, stress. It starts to break down. You get the compensation, then turns into dysfunction, and eventually you age faster and die quicker. So the thing is that for quick examples, when you're dealing with chronic joint pain, it could be that you're going against the law of vertical loading, right? So that's that alignment position. When you get winded easily or feel anxious, you're violating breathing and stimulus. When you're stuck and inflamed or tired constantly, it's that your body's not renewing itself, right? So the most important thing to remember is that your body can change, right? These laws are not punishments. They're a roadmap to balance, health, pain-free movement. And the key to unlocking that is the right stimulus through posture therapy, continued movement, how you fuel your body, mindful awareness, right? These laws are all at the heart of posture therapy. So when your body violates one or more of these principles, as I said, whether due to injury, lifestyle, stress, compensation patterns, your body begins to develop chronic tension, limited mobility, and eventually pain, right? So by understanding and applying these 8 laws, we can begin to restore alignment, regain our function, eliminate pain naturally, and without invasive treatment.
Really fascinating. So it's fascinating. So posture isn't just about muscles and joints then. It's about lifestyle factors too, right? There are things like sleep, hydration, and emotional stress. And so how do these actually impact your posture and your physical health?
So once again, when we go to, and you're right, like it's not just physical, it's everything, as said, back to that stimulus, right? So when we think of breathing, it's that deep diaphragmatic breathing will feed your posture, right? It's either going to go into compensation or you're going to do it properly, but it oxygenates the tissues and calms your nervous system. Nutrition is all about the quality of the fuel that is directly impacting to repair your tissues, rebuild your energy, as well as your inflammation levels. When we talk about hydration, adequate water intake keeps your fascia, because your fascia is all around your muscles. So I like to think of fascia as when you take a chicken, right? So when you're cooking, take a chicken, and when you're looking at it next, there's the skin, and then that ooey gooey part between the skin and the muscle, that's the fascia that holds. So when you don't have enough water, then what happens is that becomes like a glue-like substance, not allowing your muscles to move, your tissues to repair. So therefore you need half your body weight in ounces each day to substantially, keep your muscles supple and functional. When we talk about sleep, obviously quality rest, your body heals. It resets and it regenerates. It restores postural balance, because instead of that forward position all night, all day, now you're going back into a better posture alignment. So pillows are very key. Mental and emotional state. So chronic stress, when unresolved, can literally pull your body out of alignment, right? When we think of that depressed person, we think of that very forward slumped positioning, right? Mindset and purpose. When you know a clear why, it helps keep you motivated and on task towards better health. And then just for fun, sunlight, we all need that great vitamin D, right? So when we start to address both sets of laws, the physical and the lifestyle, they create a complete environment of your body so that it can realign, restore mobility, so that eventually you can live pain-free or close to it, be able to manage your pain. So overall, posture is a reflection of how well or how poorly your body is following these laws. And it's not just about standing up or sitting straight or looking good. Posture is your baseline operating system.
Wow, I love how you said that. So I'd love for you to connect the dots, right? About, you've talked about it a little bit, but how can posture affect things like your joint pain, your fatigue, your digestion, and even your mood?
So when we think about that slouched and forward position, what happens is your joints start to wear down faster. Your muscles have to work harder to keep you upright, right? Because this doesn't feel good. This feels good when you're used to slouching. Once again, your breathing becomes shallow, your digestion slows, because as soon as you start to slouch forward, you're compressing your diaphragm, because your ribs come forward, so it compresses your diaphragm. It compresses your digestive system, so your circulation is compromised, and pain becomes more likely to happen in other areas that aren't even actually the source of where it's coming from, right? So symptoms are different than the cause. But when your body's aligned properly, movement becomes effortless. Your muscles work together the way that they're designed to. Your nervous system starts functioning more efficiently, and you can actually create conditions for your body to heal, strengthen, and thrive.
Oh, it's so interconnected, right? This is perfect, because I'd love to know how posture affects the nervous system, right? Particularly between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic responses, that the body, has.
So when we talk about the posture and the nervous system, right, a lot of people don't connect the two, but your posture directly impacts how your brain and your body communicate, right? So basically, it's how your nervous systems responds to the world around you, right? Your environment, and once again, that's back to that law of stimulus. So your central nervous system is made up of your brain and your spinal cord. So and it's your body's master control center. So basically, every movement, every sensation, every function is regulated in the brain and the spinal cord, right? Because all the nerves come out of that spinal cord. Then what happens is your posture is surrounding it. So as you start to shift out of, let's say, body alignment, it's going to change what is actually happening to your spine, the nerves, the muscles, everything around it. And it's going to start to pull and shift. So even tight muscles up in your shoulders, let's say, will start to pinch the nerves. You may get some hand weakness, some sensation, different things going on like that, right? So basically what it does is it creates an interference, putting pressure, as I said, on that nerve, limiting, maybe the body's ability for regulating itself and recovery. So we have to kind of relax everything, but looking at the posture standpoint. So when we talk about the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system, so the sympathetic nervous system is basically your fight or flight, which a lot of people are in nowadays and have a hard time coming out. So they're very triggered, to say the least, right? So it's your baseline survival mode, right? And a lot of people are stuck in survival mode. So it increases your heart rate, raises your blood pressure, it shuts down your digestive system, right? So a lot of more people, as you know, they're having a lot of digestive issues. So this fight or flight is good in the short term, if you're being chased by a bear, but it's not good for the long term, right? There is a protective mechanism, but there's so many people that are stuck in that fight or flight. So parasympathetic nervous system is all about recovery mode. That's your rest, your digest, your healing. And so it will slow the heart rate, promote digestion, improve sleep, and it supports your overall healing. So when your posture is poor, so with that rounded shoulders, collapsed rib cage, forward head posture, all this, then what happens is your diaphragm becomes restricted, as I said. Your breathing becomes shallow, your body gets stuck in that low-grade fight or flight. So for those of you who are looking, it's kind of like this. So as we kind of go in here, you can see everything collapses forward, and that's how it becomes shallow breathing. It compresses, like I said, that diaphragm, that digestive system in that position. So what we want to do is we need our body to expand through the diaphragm, right? So when you're in that low grade fight or flight, your body is constantly releasing cortisol, and the stress slows. Your immune system weakens, and that's when you start to feel that wired, tired, anxious, or just even burnt out all the time. So when our diaphragm wants to expand, when we sit up, then all of a sudden now your diaphragm opens up, your nervous system wants to naturally shift back into that parasympathetic, because parasympathetic means that it's safe, right? It's a safe place to be. So that's why posture therapy is so much more than just, as I said, standing up. It's more than, joint mobility, how well you function, your back pain. It's about helping your nervous system get out of that survival mode so that it can finally do the rest, repair, and function the way it's supposed to. You don't just feel better physically, but you sleep better, focus better, digest better, and you just feel more emotionally grounded.
So you touched on this, right? The diaphragmatic breathing. So if you could explain diaphragmatic breathing and also vagus nerve stimulation, right? Which can help to reset the nervous system.
Right. So when your posture is misaligned. So you want to think of your diaphragmatic breathing as basically your built-in reset button. So when your posture is misaligned, once again, back to that forward head posture, because so many people are stuck in this forward head posture, right? We actually call it tech neck, because the thing is that when people are using their cell phone, their head is forward, right? So, and then what happens is their whole body starts to become forward. So that's why we call it tech neck, right? So the thing is that when you're in that compressed torso position, like I said, your diaphragm can expand, therefore you start chest breathing, you start shallow breathing from your upper traps and your neck muscles. Because so when we talk about the, I'm going to say the SCM, so your sternal cleidomastoid muscle, so it comes here. So with that tech neck, what happens is it comes forward, compressing, and as this compresses, what happens is it starts to bring the rib cage up. And so with every breath, you're using more of the auxiliary muscles in your neck, and they're tight. They're tight all the time for some people. And so therefore you can't get that good breath. So now just imagine that in that forward posture position, then you're not able to breathe and open up properly. So when we start to realign the spine, the ribs, you're allowed to more it feels like belly breathing, but it's that diaphragmatic, right? You're stimulating that parasympathetic nervous system, especially the vagus nerve, right? So nerve is very buzzword right now. That's why I wanted to explain it. So the vagus nerve is basically your calm and heal pathway. What pathway? Sorry. It's the longest cranial nerve in your body, and it runs from your brain stem all the way through your neck, as we said, right? So once again, when that's compressed, all the way down to your chest, as well as your digestive organs, and it acts as the communication superhighway between what's happening with your body and your brain. So when it's not working properly, we go back to the same symptoms of slow your heart rate. When it is stimulated properly, it will slow your heart rate, regulate your digestion, improve your immune responses, reduce inflammation, and calm that anxiety and that overwhelm. So posture plays a huge part in opening up your chest, aligning your head over your spine, right? And it's not just about, oh, I'm gonna like throw everything back, right? It's not just about, oh, stand up straight or sit up straight. You have to make changes at that biomechanical level so that everything starts to work the way that it's designed to, not just, that compensation of as soon as you throw your shoulders back, it's actually your ribs that are moving back and not just that whole alignment, right? So then it allows your rib cage and your diaphragm to move properly, and therefore giving that vagus nerve the green light to do its job, which once again, it says, I'm safe, right? So the reason that it matters is because obviously it helps people sleep better, their brain's not over racing, feel calmer, digest more easily. And even if they're, even if they come in for hip or knee pain, we have to go back to what's happening with their nervous system and regulate that, because that's where it starts. So it's not just about, vagus nerve is not just about improving alignment, it's improving the nervous system and how it all works together. So when your nervous system is regulated, then your body can start to heal. So therefore, I'd like to do a little bit of a practice right now on breathing. So I would like everybody to kind of sit back, take a deep breath, and feel whether it's your shoulders that are breathing, are you moving through the rib cage, or how are you doing it? So just kind of take a deep breath the way that you would. Let it out. Do it again. Let it out. Feel where it's coming from. Okay, now placing, and I'm just going to do it from a standing up position so people can see me just a little bit more. So placing your hands on your rib cage. So what you ultimately want to do is feeling the diaphragm, because it's right under these bottom ribs. So what you want to do is you actually want to feel it to start to go in and out like this, because as the diaphragm inhales, it actually descends, and that's how the pelvic floor is all connected as well. So you want it to kind of go in and out with that inhalation and expansion. So your rib cage will move a little bit, but you're not filling up the lungs the way that, you know, the old ways used to say, oh, you want to fill up the lungs and everything. You are, but it's got to be coming from the diaphragmatic breath, or you're not, you know, in and out with your breathing, right? So it's not like the belly, everything will move, but you want to feel it more this way. So what I want you to do is take a deep breath in through your nose for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, and then release through your mouth for another 4 counts, and do it 3 times. It's going to take a while for you to get onto this. So a good practice is every night when you're sleeping to go through this and just start to feel, because actually as you start to change your breath, actually what happens is it also speeds up your metabolism and actually starts to help balance weight loss, because now your body is working in a better environment. So in for 4, hold for 4. So you can see my hands moving versus my shoulders. And one more. And that's how we start to learn how to calm our nervous system. So, you know, you can do that anywhere, which is great. You don't have to be laying down. There are great exercises that, you know, just even laying on the floor, putting your feet up on the wall, that very much calms and regulates your nervous system. If you're laying on the floor, you can put your hips and your knees at a 90 degrees. We call that static back. That is really good at regulating your nervous system. So those are really 2 good exercises. Just like I said, or just laying on your bed and practicing that diaphragmatic breathing.
Wow. So thanks for the diaphragmatic breathing. That was really good. But do you have a few tips on how we can check our posture to, you know, to activate our nervous system the way it should be?
Sure. So what I like to do with people for the first time, and I'm just going to shift this down. So right from there, okay. So what I like is when I'm starting to work with clients, I get them to check to see where their body is basically in space first, right? Because we have to have a starting point of what we're doing. So by just standing, and with posture therapy, it's all about ditching the shoes, right? Because you want to be grounded, but you want to feel where your feet are. If you don't know where your feet are in space, then how can you change it, right? So you got to start from where you're at. So with your eyes open or closed, I just want people to stand tall and feel what's happening. Are you standing more to the left? Are you standing more to the right? Do you feel like your body is tipping forward? Where are the tension in your muscles? And most importantly, how are your feet touching the ground? Are you feeling like you're rolling in, or are you feeling like you're rolling out? What is happening? Sometimes you may even feel like a twist in your body. Now, the great thing is once you get this down of how you feel here, step back to a wall. So once again, we want to what we call stack our joints. If you remember back to the laws of health. So stacking your joints is basically ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders all in that vertical alignment. Now, if you step back to the wall, you want to keep that positioning. So therefore your feet are just a little bit open. And then you're standing against a wall. So shoulders back as much as possible and head. Now, do you have to push your head back? Do you have to push your shoulders? What happens? So see, all of a sudden, if I overly push my shoulders, my arms want to come out. So I just want you in that relaxed position so you can start to feel. Now, over time, if you bring your hands open, that's kind of like an anatomical position, the way that we should be. So you should feel your heels, you should feel your back of your calves, your butt, your shoulders, what doesn't feel normal, and that will show you how off you are basically in your body. So practicing this wall test, stacking your joints 2 minutes a day will start to change, but it will also show you where you are in, like I said, in your body, in space, proprioception, just kind of getting that idea of what's happening. Now, if you're feeling that, one side of your body is hurting more from standing this, that usually means that it's coming back into balance. So it's normal, because if you're a person that stands on the left and now all of a sudden you're coming back to standing against the wall, you're shifting that whole left side into where it should be. And so therefore you may feel a lot more tension on that side of your body as it tries to rebalance itself with that other side. And that's really, really important. So I always tell my clients too, from this position, take a step out and try to hold this position. How does that feel? And how long does it take before you go back into your normal slouched position?
Well, thanks, Candace. That was really helpful, right? So, for someone just starting their journey, right, what is one small step today that they can take to help support their posture?
So I always say, you know what? Awareness is the key. If you don't know where you're at, how can you change it? Right? So just being aware, and all my clients always say, I hear your voice inside my head, So it's that big key point is awareness and consistency. It's kind of like our health, right? You can't eat one salad and expect your body to change, right? So it's consistency. It's that whole lifestyle. You've got to implement the tools. But the great thing is about posture is, one, you can start doing it today. There's no fancy equipment. There's no high impact workouts. It's just intentional movements and awareness. So for the most part, 15 minutes a day will start to make changes, which is like really cool, right? Like, and it doesn't even have to be 15 minutes all at once. You can implement certain little exercises throughout your day as well, right? And as your posture starts to shift, then everything else in your body starts to shift. This bad posture that you're sitting in comfortably now becomes the most uncomfortable thing, and you just naturally sit and in that upright position, because now this is what feels better, right? Because posture itself doesn't just affect your muscles or your joints, it's a total body restoration. So posture therapy isn't actually about doing more. It's about giving your body the space to do what it's already designed to do, which is heal. So for anybody looking for more information, they can absolutely DM me here or send me an email at Candace Grant, so Candace with an ACE, so Candace Grant, RMT at outlook.com, and we can have a 15-minute free posture consultation.
Wow, this has been really fascinating, and I do hear your voice, let me tell you. I do. So next week, we're taking it even further because I'm going to do a deep dive into metabolic balancing, right? I'm going to talk about hormone balancing, blood sugar regulation, and how we can support our metabolism naturally, especially as we age. So, Candace, I really want to thank you for, co-hosting with me here. This has been truly a very enlightening experience.